What is going on, PGA DFS fans? Good evening. It is the Live Before Lock show. As we bring in the sultry music, I feel like it's a really good theme for what we've got going on here this week in the heartland of the USA. And I'm joined by my co-host of this Live Before Lock show on the Stokastic YouTube channel by Ben Rasa. Ben, I know it's maybe not your most favorite week, but if you win 200K, would it be your favorite week of the year?
Yeah, of the year. It wouldn't be my favorite tournament ever, but it would rise in the ranks. Much like the live golfers, if the John Deere wants to give me 200K, I will stop making fun of the tournament. No problem. You know what though? It's fun to attack a field like this once in a while. I wouldn't want this every week, but I do like the skills and the challenges of saying, okay, my lineup's going to look a lot different than it is at the Open Championship, at the US Open. We get to talk about guys we don't normally talk about on this show. That in itself makes it exciting.
Yes, it really does. And I'm going to go out and guess that we are going to be able to still go a full hour because I've got a lot of people that I want to talk about. I know, again, it's the John Deere Classic, but still, nonetheless, I've got a lot to bring up with you. We'll also give our live takes as well at the end. If you guys are here for that, I'm sure some of you are just waiting to hear our takes. We'll give you some as they have come out with contests, not just on DraftKings, but also over on PrizePicks, the sponsor of our video tonight here, Ben. So I'm going to give you some PrizePicks live golf takes, but you got to wait for those until a little later on in the show. First off, we're going to start with our tournament going on in Illinois, the John Deere Classic, and talk about the weather a little bit. Of course, our new tool, the Strokes Gain Weather Split tool. Check that out for the exact talk of this, but it looks like not much going on the first 2 days, Ben. Maybe a quarter of a stroke tomorrow with golfers going off in the morning.
It looks like it could be a little windy tomorrow at times. I don't think it's going to be a major split because it just looks like it might just be windy. And I don't think it's going to be crazy conditions. Friday, it might rain a little bit. So we got a mixed bag of weather. It's one of those situations, we talk about this frequently. I think that weather could play a role here, but I don't think you can do anything with it. So there's a chance that something occurs and there's a split or there's a rain delay or something like that. I'm not sure that there's really anything you can do right now before the tournament. So I'm going to play it pretty straight up this week.
Yeah, me too. Looks like good temperatures, and it looks like Friday is just pretty ideal, like low 80s, no wind. Man, what I'd give for low 80s and no wind right now. Well, actually, I would like the wind because, man, it's been so hot.
It's hot here.
Is it too? Yeah, I talked to my buddy who was up in Rhode Island, and he said it's getting hot. Yeah, 100.
Yeah, we're not in triple digits. We don't mess around with triple digits up here, but it's still hot.
Yeah, I made the mistake last week, Ben, of trying to play golf on Thursday. After Spieth had that awful start, I'm like, I got to get out of here. So I went out at 2:30, and I had changed shirts by the third hole. I didn't see the center of the club face. Like, it was so bad. Anyways, we're not here to talk about my golf. We're here to talk about the pro golfers that are here this week. There are a couple of sticker shocks. I'm not going to lie to you. But first, let's go off. I got a question. What do you do when you see a golfer, whether it's a golfer that you plan to roster a lot this week or one that you want to bet on, go off in the first tee time? We've got two guys going out tomorrow morning that you and I have played a lot of recently. Emiliano Grillo being one, Maverick McNeely being the other. They're both going out at 6:45, along with Alex Smalley, who I wanted to play a lot this week. So do I just make a lineup with all of them? What do you do here when you see something like that?
Yeah, I mean, on a selfish level, I like it because by 8:15 I can go get breakfast. My week is over thanks to Grillo, and we call it a day. But we've talked a lot about that on the show. I do think there is an element of being able to kind of drift off your partners if everyone's playing good in a group. I do like to attack that going off first. Sometimes I get a little freaked out, not so much here, but like when it's cold in the morning and guys, sometimes you get some weird conditions, but I like it. I'm not going to deter from some of those names. I think those guys are firmly in play, and certainly Maverick is going to be a starting point for some people's lineups this week.
Yeah, interesting. He's out at 6:45. The first people that we will get on television, it looks like they were going to give us Steve Stricker, which I don't know why they were going to give us Steve Stricker to begin with. But nonetheless, we get Morgan Hoffman, who I think I'd rather see other than Steve Stricker. He's going to go off with the two Camerons, Cameron Champ and Cameron Davis, which I will save talking about them for just a little while because I have some good thoughts on both of them. Then we're going to get Robert Streb, Martin Laird, and Patton Kazire, along with Kevin Stroman, Nick Watney, and Mark Hansby. Oof, it is. If you like watching golf,
yikes.
Maybe tomorrow morning might be the time to take it off. Unless they give us McNeely Grillo, then I'll watch all 18 holes, but it doesn't look like they'll give us that. Unless, of course, they're in the lead the whole time. Then we'll get to see them. The afternoon is the stars: Webb Simpson, Lanto Griffin, Jason Day, Charles Howell, Brant Snedeker, Thigala, along with Adam Hadwin. He's also in that wave. Anything you want to make note other than the two guys that we mentioned up top going off at 6:45? Maybe another first-round leader bet that you saw.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely look to the guys just generically in the early day. I'll throw out a name just kind of randomly. He's not in the first pairings by any stretch, but I'm going to throw this guy out there right now for a first-round leader. I think that Adam Long is in a pretty good spot there. 7:40 a.m. tee time. We've seen him start really fast. Elite scorer. He's playing pretty good golf. I actually like him, and we're going to talk about him in the context of DFS. But I wouldn't be stunned to see someone like Adam Long get off to a really quick start, and he's a good price in the first-round leader market. Yes.
All right, let's go to the rankums now as we move down our board here. Also want to just make you guys know, again, Prize Picks, sponsor of this Live Before Lock show. You're going to use promo code It's Still Awesemo, right, Tyler? I haven't gotten a wave that we've changed it over. We're still on Awesemo for our Prize Pick promo code. $100 deposit match on your first deposit over there. Again, we are going to give you some live golf takes for tomorrow's round and also a couple of PGA Tour takes as well for Prize Picks a little later on the show. But for our first rank event, Webb Simpson, Adam Hadwin, Sahith Theegala. They're not priced 8,400, 8,200, and 8,000. Nope, sorry, not this week. It's 10-6, 10-4, and 10-2 for these three. Obviously, some sticker shots, but unless you're going to leave a ton of salary, it almost ends up that you get one of them for every lineup that you make, basically.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the hand we've been dealt, and these are going to be three of maybe the five most popular golfers on the entire slate. A lot of people are going to click Webb. He's probably going to be the most popular play. I think he is the best play, the safest play and all that. So I have no problem starting with Webb. Theegala is playing really good golf. Hadwin would be third for me. Nothing really against him, but I just look at Thielen. The talent is there. I coulda, shoulda, woulda won last week. That was a bad decision. That is one he'll learn from, but that was even as someone who I don't know what I'm doing in any regard, even I was just like, this doesn't seem like it's possible to get out of this bunker. So that was a tough scene, but I think
when I heard the audio and I'm sitting there with a 150-1 ticket on Thigala after the Mito heartbreak missed cut,
that hurt.
It was a very profitable week, but so awful in terms of what it could have been with a couple of strokes going my way. When they were playing the audio of him talking to his caddy, I'm like, he's going to cough up another one right now. He's got to just play for a 5 and let Xander make a 3 to beat him. Instead, he makes a 6. And literally, I bet you that was the easiest 72nd hole that Xander Schauffele for the win has ever played in his career, knowing what just happened in front of him. So, disappointing. Now, Rory mentioned this last week and said, hey, listen, when you play a lot in a row, but you're playing good, you want to just keep it going. So do you take maybe Thigala comes out and keeps it going for 1 or 2 rounds like Rory did and maybe gives up some on the weekend? Or do you think he can stay in it this week, which if you do think he does that push him above Hadwin and Simpson in terms of your rankings this week?
So I do think that he can, and he's shown tee to green. He's been great. And when he putts, I'm not going to say he's going to gain 4 strokes putting every week like he did there. But when he does spike, that's what we saw at Waste Management as well. So I'm going to put him against Hadwin, but I still think that Webb Simpson, if you're not looking to be different, if you're looking to make 5-man lineups, you click Webb and you figure the rest out. Webb is just a better player than all these guys.
And playing good right now. Finally coming into form.
Yep. He is.
Yep. Again, throwing the U.S. Open out. I already mentioned last week, so I won't harp on it too much. He was in the bad weather wave and missed on the number after a terrible back 9. So pretty sure I'm at least going to write that off. I have no problem clicking Webb's name. Hadwin, the 2 times that he's come to this event, 8th and 18th. So that also gives me a reason to want to pick him, especially over these next guys where I think these guys are the most overpriced in the field. So I'm going to say pick your overprice here for the second rank him. Denny McCarthy. Sure, he's playing good golf. Not going to lie. 9,900 though. Maverick McNeely, 9,500 coming off a missed cut. Doesn't have a top 10 basically all season. And Jason Day, this is purely a price to name here at 10,000. He has not earned that price tag. I don't care what field it is. Probably not even Puerto Rico. So what do you do? Are you picking none of them, or is there one that you do like in the pick your overpriced section?
So they are overpriced, but there's always with overpriced comes negated ownership. And Jason Day is not going to be popular because he doesn't deserve to be flat 10K. And because I think that his floor is a miscut, even in a field like this. For tournaments, for the big $20, I think you could and should play some Jason Day because it's still Jason Day. I think that even though he struggled a little bit, Maverick would make the most sense. I think the field will reflect that, but this is still a guy. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where everybody was saying that Maverick McNeely is, the Thigala-esque of he's just going to win very soon. He's playing great golf. So I'm not going to give up on him, even with some struggles lately, the putter in particular.
Yeah, so I don't think I'd give my rank. I think for me, Thiegel has at least shown us after a good start, he's been able to come back the very next week and at least play okay. He hasn't strung back to back top 10s on the PGA Tour in his career. Again, it's just his rookie season, but nonetheless, he still hasn't been able to do it. So I don't think I need to pay 10-2 for it. I also think that he could end up mixing the cut if he did put in a lot of that mental energy we've talked about. So with that, I don't want to miss a win because I've been betting on this guy all year. He still provided a really nice return last week on that top 5. So I'm okay betting him and fading the ownership on DK. If there's any of them I'm going to get over on any of these top 6, it would be Webb. But I don't even think I'm going to get over on Webb this week. And the 3 that I just mentioned to you, even with Jason Day's ownership, I'm likely going to be under the field. However, these next 3 golfers that are all playing well are all highly owned. And these are guys that I am having trouble fading and may end up going the other way and playing overweight. It's Patrick Rogers, Nick Hardy, and Adam Long. You mentioned Adam Long at the top of the show, so I'll let you start there and then measure them up against the other 2 guys that I mentioned.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of people are going to click Webb and then try to click one of these guys, maybe even 2. I think a lot of people are going to go balanced and try to get 2 or 3 of these type of players. I think that all makes sense. Adam Long is quietly playing really solid golf. I think I like Patrick Rogers the best of the three. He's playing very solid golf. He's got a runner-up at John Deere. He's a prolific putter. He can drive the ball. And Nick Hardy's playing great golf too. I think for him, he's third more by default than anything else. This is definitely a range that I think you want to allocate some ownership to. Rogers going to be popular. All of them are going to be popular, but I still think it's warranted to get some exposure.
Yeah, especially in a field like this, you got to play some of the chalk. It's unlikely that you're going to be able to avoid all of it and play a winning lineup. Jason Day would have to be that guy basically up here above 8,500 of golfers we're talking about. So for these three, for me, Nick Hardy, the only concern that I have is this is week, I believe 4 in a row, maybe 3, at least 3 on the PGA Tour that he's played. So this would be week 4 in a row. Coming back from an injury, is that going to affect him? Is he going to get tired eventually? I'm not sure, but what I do know is he's from Illinois. I know this is what he would consider his home event, or went to the University of Illinois. I don't know if this is his home state, but I know that he is a grad there. So obviously has a lot of fans in the area why he's playing here this week. He also needs the FedEx Cup points. But I like Patrick Rogers. How many people in this field, Ben, can we say withdrew from last week's event to get prepared for this week? Patrick Rogers is the only guy. Could it finally be his time to win?
Yeah, he's got his priorities in order. Yeah, Nick Hardy, by the way, is from Illinois as well as going to the university. So you're right on there. And Patrick Rogers is one of those. He reminds me of Luke List in the sense that there's been so many little blips where people said he's gonna win. And then he never did. And then he's going to win at some point. He's been close and close. And could this be the week? It really could. He's made 6 or 7 cuts off the tee and putting. I think that Patrick Rogers should be one of the more popular plays this week. And I will buy into that chalk.
Yeah. It's funny as you mentioned Luke List, and I wanted to make note that if you haven't played Patrick Rogers, I assure you he's a better putter, way better putter than Luke List. So if you are going to roster him like Ben and I are going to this week, just know he should be pretty decent putting. All right, I've got the next section. I like this one. This is the boomer bust. I've got 4 names here, Ben, that have missed at least 2 cuts in the last 5 starts, but in the other ones have come in the top 25 in all of them. So I've got Scott Stallings, got 2 top 10s and 3 missed cuts in his last 5. Christian Bezuidenhout, 2 top 15s and 2 missed cuts in his last 4. JT Poston, 2 top 10s and 2 missed cuts in his last 5. Alex Smalley rounds it out, 2 top 20s and 2 missed cuts in his last 4. So of the boomer bust plays, who do you like here this week? And I will go into a little bit of detail about Alex Smalley after you tell me.
Good, because he's the one I'm most unsure about, to be honest. And I think this is where you're going to get your pivots. So we've talked about some of the chalk plays. CH3 is a chalk play as well. I think Bez is a great pivot right off him. In theory, I know he's not playing great golf right now, but irons and putting, that's Bez. That's what he does. JT Poston was electric with both of those. He gained 8 strokes with the approach and 5 strokes with the putter with his runner-up at Travelers. I think both of them are very, very solid targets. The other 2 I'm a little less sure about, to be honest. I don't know what to do with Scott Stallings. He's a prolific birdie maker, but man, I know it's a bad field. 89 did really that's a tough one for me to stomach. I have a feeling I'm going to go against him. I think people like him. I get it. I would rather play Bez.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in line with you here. I like Bez as a really nice pivot. I think he'll be around 10% owned, which in this field is fine. So I put him up there. Poston, you mentioned Poston's just playing some pretty solid golf. And I feel like this is a Wyndham type of field and event, which he's won. So maybe, I don't think he's a bad play either. Now it comes to Alex Smalley. Smalley right now, he's on the every other week campaign, which means he's playing bad one week, playing good the next. Also, one more narrative. His 3 best finishes this year have all come against weak fields. Corrales Punta Cana, Mexico Open, and all the way back at Bermuda. His 3 best finishes on the PGA Tour came in those 3 events. So he's got 2 little narrative thingies, at least that I created in my own head, working for him. So I do like him. He's at 7,600. I think he's in a little bit of a range where people are going to go to Doug Gim, go to Adam Svensson. So I don't think he'll be that highly owned. So I think you can get him pretty low owned. In terms of a ranking, I would say for me, it's probably Bez, Poston, Smalley, with Stallings last. I think if Stallings was 8,000 like Poston, I'd be more likely to play him. But I think Poston's a better play and playing better than Stallings. I know they both have top 10 upside in their last couple, but that's where I would go. All right, let's talk about a couple of more popular 8Ks. Cam Davis is one, and Brendan Todd is another. Adam Long was in this mix as well, but we've already talked about him. So let's just focus on Davis and Todd. How do you rank these two guys sitting in the mid 8Ks?
So both of them are very reasonable plays. I like Cam Davis, but I'll give people a peek. Many of the tools that we have here at Stokastic, one of the most important is the ownership. And to give people just a little glimpse, Cam Davis is projected right now north 22%. That's a lot of ownership. Now, this is a guy. Let me just make sure I get this right, because I've said this a couple of times, and every time I say it, I say, hold on, that can't be right. But it is. In his last two events, he has 9 double bogeys and 1 other. So he's been making insane amounts of birdies, but he's made 9 double bogeys and 1 other. If he can limit the mistakes, I think that Cam Davis is poised for a big week, but you just can't do that on the PGA Tour.
So in a field like this, and I've got, I think 3 or 4 names that I'm kind of categorizing here in this one this week, that it's like, all right, these players, when I've seen them at their best, are some of the best in this field. Cam Davis is one of the 3 this week. In fact, there's another guy with the exact same first name that I'm throwing in this bucket that we'll talk about in a minute. I think you have to play him, given the field strength and given his potential and upside in a normal PGA Tour event. I think he's a must play. I know 22% ownership is going to scare some away. I would maybe, if you want to, stay clear from him in the single entries. But sometimes these these plays end up working. Brendan Steele last week came in tied for 25th. If you played him in the $200 because of the low 6 of 6 percentage, it probably helped you. So again, using them in the $20, I think there's plenty of ways you can get unique. You're going up against, whatever it is this week, 50 or 60,000 other entries. I do like Davis. Brendan Todd's only superpower is putting, and nothing else is going all that good right now. So I don't love it. The fact that it's 15%, Ben, I think we can go down to one of your guys like CT Pan as a pivot there and probably get a little bit less ownership in just as fine form. So let's talk about CT Pan and 2 other guys in the 8K range that are going to be good pivots off these high owned. I just mentioned one, Cam Champ, and the defending champion Lucas Glover is the other. So let's talk just a 1, 2, 3 rank them, and then maybe a couple of thoughts.
Yeah, so this is where you're going to get your pivots. And again, just to clarify, I'm with you. Cam Davis, great play. I'm definitely going to use him. I'm just going to try to avoid using him with like web and chalk, values, because that's just not going to work. But now you've got guys that are hovering around 10% in Lucas Glover, CT Pan. Cameron Champ's going to be virtually unowned, so I put him in a different category. I do like CT Pan. He was really disappointing last week. He lost 5.5 strokes with his irons. The last time he lost any strokes with his irons was at the Genesis in February. So that was really atypical. He had gained in 9 straight events on the approach. I'm willing to say, okay, I'm going to hold on for one more week with CT Pan. I think Glover's fine. He's won here. He knows what he's doing. He's got to make some putts. The guy that I think is the most interesting, not my favorite, but the most interesting is Cam Champ, just because it's Cam Champ. And when he has it, he wins. And when he doesn't, as we've seen for the last month or so, it's missed cuts.
Yeah.
Your guess is as good as mine, but at 1%, I mean, I can't say Matthew Wolff anymore because he's been self-banished into the abyss. So Cam Champ takes the mantle as the guy that you could probably just roster 5% of perpetually, and you'll get paid off at some point.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I wish it was a no cut. I wish Cam Champ was playing on a live tour. I'd have no problem in rostering him this week. Maybe that's a reason to roster Matthew Wolff. We'll talk about that a little later. I'm on board for Cam Champ at 5 or 10% this week to get leverage on the field. If I had to pick any of these guys to play, I think Glover is fine. I think Pan is fine. I probably would skip out on all of them for a one lineup scenario. I would probably, again, if I was
I'd go Poston.
One lineup all week, it would probably be something like Rogers, Hardy, Davis, Poston, someone up top, and then one of these pivots that we'll get to here in a little bit down below. So, all right, last group is the high-owned golfers below 8,000. Maybe you want to fade all of them. Maybe you want to fade none of them. Adam Schenk coming in at 7,700, working off of back-to-back top 10s at the event. Adam Svensson has played good golf this year, 7,700. Martin Laird was a part of the story last week and then faded on Sunday. And then one of the most interesting names in this field, Taylor Pendrith, is back, 7,300. Why don't you talk about the first three, and then I'll give you the injury update from my digging on Pendrith.
Yeah, so this is going to be your mid-range chalk. These are really solid targets. Again, I'd caution Webb, Cam Davis, and then these guys, that's not going to work this week. You're going to have to change it up. But these guys on their own merit make a lot of sense. I'll talk about Svensson, the Canadian. He's made 5 straight cuts. Really good tee to green lately. He gained 4.5 strokes on the approach last week. He's gained 5 straight tournaments with the putter. I think you can really look to these guys for stability. And then you've got the reasonable pivots that we'll get to in the make the cut segment, and looking at our tools and our ownership and our leverage, all the things here behind the paywall. These guys check out as really good values. But I want to ask you about Pendrith. I know you're going to give the injury update. I was floored that he's projecting north of 10% right now, even after this long layoff.
Yeah, so either it's because of all of the optimizers baking in his previous form and matching it up against some of the people that he's going up against this week, and it's a clear reason to play him. Obviously, he hasn't played in 3 months now. So here's the problem. Around the Players' Championship, he had a rib that was bothering him, found nothing in the first set of doctor's visits, went for an MRI. They found a fracture. It was supposed to be out a month. So a month goes by, nothing comes of it. Now it's the player. Now we're in the PGA Championship. He's already qualified for it. Not playing again. RBC Canadian Open comes up just 3 weeks ago. Was supposed to play in that. Couldn't get it. Then was interviewed there and said that he was targeting the John Deere Classic to come back. So here he is. He's been hitting balls since late May. So here's kind of my philosophy on it. If his game is anything what it was when he was playing, at 7,300 in this field, he's definitely a good roster. However, I do expect there to be some competitive rust going on. He hasn't played in 3 months. It's not like he was a super golfer anyway before that. He was good. So I think it's probably going to end up, if he's 10%, I'm probably going to be at the field. But he is a part of my builds this week, just given the fact that, he has seemingly waited much longer than what his injury timetable was at the beginning of it.
Listen, I think it's more than reasonable. And he's one of the few guys that, when you look at the pricing, it seems underpriced just because that's where he is in much stronger fields. But we have this giant unknown about where he actually is health-wise. And I think this is one of the guys that I'm looking right now, at our leverage tool and whatnot. It's a tough evaluation for a guy like this because we simply don't know where he's at. If he comes out and shakes off the rust here, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And he gets ready for bigger events in the future. I'll be honest. I prefer multiple other guys that we'll get to in the same range before I click Pendrith.
Yeah, me too, for sure. Okay, that's going to do for our Rankum here. Again, chat, appreciate the chatter tonight. There's a little play on words there. Mike, if you missed our Nick Hardy take, both Ben and I like him this week. My only caution was we know about his injury. This is week 4 in a row. That would be my only concern. I'm playing him as one of my core plays this week. But again, if he misses the cut, that is why. That's kind of what I'm putting. Not that I'm trying to put the cart before the horse or, trying to, project a missed cut here. I'm just saying that would be the only concern with him. All right. Now, chat, if we have any other questions or any of the golfers in the Make the Cut segment, is the time to chat about it. So let us know. And before we do too, let's tell you about a few of those tools that Ben mentioned that are behind the paywall that are free today. So go out and check them out. Now, I know for the MLB one, the ownership projections, we may have missed the main slate there, but still there's some games going off in the afternoon. So check those out. And of course, the golfer rankings, our PGA golfer rankings are free today. That's going to tell you from 1 to 156 where they rank in the field. So check that out. It's a great quick tool. And with that, also want to tell you guys about our new referral program. Ben, this is pretty sweet new thing that we're doing here at Stokastic. So if you are interested in joining our team as part of our referral program, well, Tyler, I believe you're going to drop the link here in just a little bit to find out what you have to do. And you're going to be able to earn up to 20% of any of the products that your referral ends up purchasing. So a really good deal. Check it out on the link below, our new Stokastic referral program. So really cool idea there from our team. Now let's go on to our Make the Cut segment, where we're going to talk about some of these other golfers that are going to need to be in part of our lineups this week, given that we can't roster 6 people over $8,300 in the same lineup. Anirban Lahiri is going to kick it off. Certainly has played to the point where we'd say, well, if he was playing his best that he's done this year, he might win this event, but he's out of form right now. So what do you do with him? Is he going to play all 4 days, or is he going to pack it up to Jacksonville early this week?
Oh, my boy. I don't really like it, to be honest. You're paying a pretty hefty tag, and I know it's a weak field, but he's just in a tough range. He's got Chez, he's got Johnny Hook, Poston, Svensson, Shank. Here he's not really playing well. When I look at what he's been doing, 3 straight missed cuts, the putter is now broken. It's a pass for me.
Yeah, I saw Scott Piercy just named, and I'm typing in the chat. I like other guys in that area. We'll get to them. I don't hate him for a GPP is in my player pool, but there are 2 other names that I've played more of this year that I will again. Johnny who? Johnny what? Johnny Huh. 3 straight top 25s. We may have a little fun with his name. I think he even does as well. He has some fun with it. They've done a couple of bits about it. Nonetheless, he could be in play here this week.
It's hard not to like him, not only as he got the 3 straight top 25s, tee to green, 8.8, 9, and 5, just really smoking hot with the irons right now. The off the tee game is never strong, but it's not weak right now. If that's what you want to do here, get some short irons, get some wedges in your hand, you're going to make the putts, but I don't know why he wouldn't continue this form. So I do think he makes the weekend. I think he's a very solid target.
Yep. 7,900 again. I can't tell you, this might be actually the most expensive Johnny Hutt has ever been, but nonetheless, he's playing good golf and maybe deserves it. So Chez Reavie, I know that in the past, I've maybe been a little bit of the Chez Reavie whisperer.
You have.
But last week, the T8, it has me not perplexed, but it has me thinking, is TBC River Highlands the absolute perfect course for Chez Reavie? Or is it go to the fact that now he's only had 5 starts in the last 2 months? 4 of them have been in the top 27 though. So maybe it is a form thing. Maybe it is a course thing. I think he's kind of in play this week. I think he's going to play all 4 days. And I don't think he's going to help you win the $20, but certainly on the single entries and lower limited entry fields, I think Chez Reavie could also be in play.
Not going to be sneaky. Not going to be crazy chalk either, but I get it. And you were kind of the catalyst for this. You've mentioned when Chez is in form, you kind of have to take notice, and he tends to play well in stretches. And then when he loses it for a while. What can you say? He's in form. The last 2 weeks have been fantastic, and he gained in all 4 categories at the Travelers. He's made 4 or 5 cuts at the John Deere. I do think he plays the weekend.
Yeah. Geoff in our chat just saw that mentioned about Max McGreevy practicing there all week. I think you and I's comment is going to be good because he kind of needs to be. No offense to Max, but he needs some big starts right now. If he wants to remain on the PGA Tour and not have to go to the Korn Ferry Tour Finals, it's going to be an uphill battle, but it's a full event here this week. This is not an alternate field event. This is a full event. 500 FedEx to the winner in the same distribution throughout. So big start from McGreevy this week. Nonetheless, it's a big start for most of these guys that are playing here. As it is for Doug Gim, who is the same price as Alex Smalley, who I already gave my take on. I'm in because of narratives that I kind of made up in my own mind. They're real. They're real, but I made them up. There's no doubt about it. Would you rather play Gim or Smalley? And does Gim play all 4 days?
So Gim is one of the guys. I try not to say this a ton on this show, but it is applicable. I think he's pretty likely to get cut, but I also have some interest in possibly playing him because that's what you have to incur with Doug Gim. You're going to get some bad missed cuts, but you're going to get a lot of scoring volatility. He outscores his placement points. I think that Alex Smalley is clearly, to me, the safer play and probably overall the better play. And it's not like Alex Smalley is making the weekend every week either, but it's more of a putting issue with him. Both these guys struggle with the flat stick. I like them as tournament plays. I don't think either of them should be near your cash lineup. Good GPP targets, but be prepared for some miscuts with these type of guys.
Yeah, I think for me, there's probably 4 other names. I'd rather eat the chalk of Shank. I'd rather play Svensson. I'd rather even go down to Fratelli. Gorillo's also right there over Doug Gibb. I think that's where I'm at. Haven't seen the top 10 since the Players, whereas we could even go down to somebody like David Lipsky, who's got us a top 6 in Mexico, which is much more recent than the Players, about a month more recent. Again, I'm not advocating for Lipsky, but while we're talking about him, why don't we discuss if David Lipsky is going to play all 4 days this week? He's on back-to-back miscuts, and I want to warn you, from the Sanderson Farms all the way through the Sony Open, there was a string of these. So is he one of those form golfers where he plays good no matter where, when he's in it, and when he's out of it, he doesn't play good anywhere? I tend to believe that that's the case.
I think I'm with you. I tend to believe that that's the case as well. And this is where opportunity cost becomes really important when you're talking about guys in the mid 7s. There's a lot of names. I really think what you need to do, first of all, you need to do is lean on our tools, but regardless of what you're using, you got to separate them into different categories. If you're looking for stability, I think that guys like Fratelli and Doug Gim would be terrible choices. If you're looking for upside, I think they're pretty interesting choices. And then you've got on the flip side, guys we've talked about in Svensson and Shank, to me, are more stable than a guy like Fratelli, who, when I do want to say this real quick, he won this event. He gained 13 strokes with the short game, though. That is ridiculous. That's not going to happen again. But at the same time, he does that from time to time, and that's where the upside comes from.
There's not many people in the field that I could say, since the Farmers Insurance has only missed 2 cuts on the season and has made 13. So he's 13 of 15. And I'm talking about a guy that was fresh off of a bachelor party, getting into the field late at the Travelers and doing his job, making the cut, scoring points. That's what Mark Hubbard does. So at 7,400 this week, is he viable to play all 4 days? It's a bunch in a row. So I think you're going to say yes. And maybe he's even viable for GPP formats as well.
He's definitely viable to play the weekend. There's no doubt. His biggest issue is that if you're talking about, say, the $20 and you're trying to win the tournament, coming in 44th doesn't actually, it helps you make some money, but it doesn't help you win. And Mark Hubbard has shown the ability to get to the weekend, and he has shown the ability to get you no placement points. So he's going to have to take a step forward. It's not just about finding the weekend, even though, of course, 6 of 6 is what we're after.
I was extremely vocal of the PGA Tour and a young budding star in the name of Precision Cody Precision. Okay. Tyler, he's a UT boy, so you're going to have to help me out with the exact pronunciation. But here's a kid. He went up to Maine, where I used to work, wins the Corn Ferry Tour, just blitzes the field. And he's not here to play this week. He's going to Colorado instead to try and ensure himself a card for next year, which he could have done by just coming and winning the John Deere Classic this week. But what he did was he opened the door for his PGA Tour University teammate, graduate person in Chris Gutterup to do the same. Now at 7,300, Ben, maybe I'm calling for a win on the PGA Tour a little too quickly. However, he has shown us some pretty big strides over the last 2 weeks. And even if we go back to the RBC Canada, where he missed the cut basically on the number after doubling his 36th hole, he's shown me something in the last couple of weeks. And even at 7,300, I think I'm willing to stay with him pretty much through the board until he really lets me down.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Ironically, it's only been a couple of weeks. I'm the last person who would be the Gotterup whisperer, but I've got this guy right every time. I didn't play him in Canada. I just sat it out at the US Open. I played him last week and he was fine. I'm going to play him again. He's got talent. This is a field where he's not going to be intimidated or overmatched. He'll be ready to go. And his price, there's a chance he's the most mispriced guy in the field if he turns out to be really, really good. We just don't know. So he's an easy play for me. One of my favorites in the lower 7s.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. I was just saying, did chat try and help me out with that pronunciation or just make fun of me?
No, they're asking about Jonas Blix. I didn't know he was in the field, but I would suggest probably not clicking his name. 64. Holy
Oh, hey, St. Stephen was in Arcadia. That is
Yeah.
a beautiful place, by the way. Have you ever been up there, by the way?
I've only been to Maine once. It was for a wedding and it was a good time, but it was not in Acadia.
Okay. Jonas Blixt. I mean, I want to, Chris, if you're still here, I want you to tell me what sold you on Jonas Blixt or what made you think of asking Ben and I about him. Because sometimes I miss something.
Absolutely.
And I like to hear why. I'm looking at the stats quickly, 28th a couple of weeks ago at RBC, if that's what it is. Okay, I can get behind that at 6,400 if that's the reason. Maybe there's something else, though, that's even better than that. All right, a couple more guys in the range. Andrew Putnam has been playing good golf and has feasted on these alternate field and weaker field events. So maybe go to him, or is he not going to see the weekend?
He's a tough one. I never get this guy right. I think what I would say is I like so many other guys in this range. He's going to get buried for me. So he's got a fine chance. This is a good course for him because he's not good off the tee. You can lean on a short game, but give me Goddard up by a mile. Give me some of the guys at 7,200 that we've yet to talk about.
Yeah, one just quick pitch on Putnam, why he's in my player field this week. When we've seen him play well, you just mentioned it's only his short game. Last week, he managed to come in the top 50 while losing 2.4 strokes putting. So if the irons do stay around, if the irons do stay around and he gains close to 2 strokes with them this week over 4 days and the putter fixes, I could see him getting into the top 25 of this event or top 20, which at 7,300, it's getting on the verge of possibly helping you win a big GPP. So for that reason, he's in the player pool. Tyler Duncan, his price has been quite volatile. He was pretty popular at 6,400 last week, and for all intents, did his job. Also came in a tie for 46. Struggled with his short game. Ball striking looked fine. So, are you going back here? Is he one of those guys who'd rather play over Putnam at the same price?
He is. Tee to green, he's been positive in 4 straight. He's a good scorer. He doesn't compete week in and week out on tour, but he plays good at seemingly specific courses. I think this could be one of them. So, again, is he my favorite play? No. Is he worth the flyer? If I was making 150, yeah, Tyler Duncan would be in the pool.
All right, let's vet the course history here. Chris responded to us. And Chris, thank you for the nice words. Ben and I certainly appreciate it very much. All right, Blixt in his course history, not since 2012. I have 2 missed cuts and a 62nd since then. If it's anything earlier, I just don't follow it. 10 years. It'd be Zach Johnson winning every gosh darn year if I went beyond 2012. So that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, he hasn't done much here. If you want to play Jonas Blixt, this is what I would say. He's an elite putter. And when you're an elite putter, you can do crazy stuff. And his off the tee game has been better. He lost 10 strokes on the approach last week at the Travelers with the irons. That's dicey. But you can always putt your way into it. Not much down there. He's not going to be in my pool, but there's not much at 64 that you're really competing against.
I love the main chatter we got going on.
Yeah, Maine.
Yeah. I believe it or not, I've worked. If people that are in the chat know Maine or know Maine golf, I worked at Perputic Club out in Cape Elizabeth. Played at the Falmouth Club where they had the Corn Ferry Tour event last week. Some really nice courses. Up in there. It's so much old money up there, Ben, as I'm sure you're aware of New England. It's just so much old money going around up there. So, okay, let's talk about, I wish there were some Maine golfers we could talk about, but there are just none that I know of, at least. Hank Lebioda is the opposite. He is a Florida State guy, but another guy very good with his putter when he gets it rolling. When he gets chances, he's done okay. Again, another made cut last week. I mean, that might be a reason to enter them into the player pool. He's a 5%er this week, but I don't want to throw him out because I do think he has upside. We've seen him play well over the last couple of years.
Yeah, Hank Lebioda is someone that he makes cuts. He takes advantage of his opportunity. When I looked at him, I didn't see much, and then I went to our leverage tool, which is one of my favorite tools that we have. It's got really good positive leverage. He's not going to be popular. And he's got a decent shot in terms of optimal percentage. So if you're looking for a pivot, if you've gone to the Cam Davises of the world, you're looking for like a semi against the grain play down here, someone like Hank Lebioda actually makes a lot of sense.
He does. Brian is asking us about Adam Schenk. We covered him very briefly. I think both Ben and I said he's in play this week, but he's possibly going to be the most popular play on the slate. And that has happened at one of these alternate weaker field events before. And he ended up doing something crazy to make the cut, I think. I'd have to go back and verify, but I remember him needing to birdie like 4 straight holes. You remember that time that Brendan Steele was like 6 over through 4 holes, the chalk of the week, and ended up making the cut? I think it was the Arnold
He had
Palmer.
made like 15 straight cuts, and it was 100% in Florida, and he made like an 8 or a 9 on like the first hole, and then he came all the way back.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember one more if you want to go down memory lane.
Yeah.
Before Cam Davis was chalk, I played Cam Davis, and he moved an entire cut line by literally living in a bunker for about 2 hours on the 36th hole. I'll never forget that.
Not only did he move it all himself, but he still missed it because he made double.
He human sacrificed.
Yeah, he literally human sacrificed to have him miss the cut and move the number down.
Dear God.
Yep.
That was a bad one.
I think he was one of the last golfers in that day. And it was T66 and literally, oh my God, I remember that. Crazy. The cut line stories are just insane. The Mito Pereira one last week, obviously.
That was gross. Didn't affect me. I knew it affected you. That one was real gross.
I was asked about it on Twitter, like, oh man, if there was a camera on you for those 4 holes, what would have done? Well, I can tell you that my wife made me leave Chipotle when he hit it in the bunker on 16. I'm like, I know what's going to happen. It's in front of me already. We're going to bogey 2 of our last 3 and miss the putt on 18. And the Chipotle was just hearing screams from a 35-year-old guy. And they were wondering what was going on. So I had to leave there.
If that was your reaction on Pereira, what was your reaction on a 150-1 ticket on Thigala on 18? You were probably throwing things.
Total despair, total and utter despair, because I had just tweeted out like a minute prior that he was going to win. It was so brutal. Oh God. Yeah. Anyways. Now he's going to win this week 35-1. Watch. That's just how it works. All right. A couple more guys in this low 7K range that I do want to get to. Matt Wallace was a big play for me at the RBC, was a big play for you last week at Travelers. Neither of us really hit. So that means he hits this week, right?
Yeah, I will say, it's one of these things. Didn't really hit, but he also didn't kill it. He made the cut.
Right. Yep.
He's kind of just lurking, and I almost like that he didn't, in the sense that no one is saying, oh, I missed Matt Wallace. No one's really paying attention, taking notice, but he's quietly still chugging along. He made another 16 birdies at Travelers. He's made 16 or more birdies in 4 straight events. I like Matt Wallace a lot this week. I'm going to continue to play him.
Putting looks good again, and that was causing him problems early on in the season. So I like him there as well. Ryan Moore is the same price. Last time he was in the top 10 was a year ago at this event where he almost won it. Can he do it again?
I mean, I think it's obviously a question of like, how good is Ryan Moore at this point? But if you told me that Ryan Moore had to play one course for the rest of his life to hang in, it would be this course. This is exactly what he wants. It's not long. He can get wedges in his hands. He can convert. So I think he
needs a top 5 to keep his job, if I'm not mistaken, too. So.
I mean, he's destroyed this course for a decade straight. I'm looking right now. Since 2012, he's missed 1 cut here, and he plays it every year.
It's hard to fade. I know the recent form is nothing, but it is certainly hard to fade. All right, since it's 8:47, and I do want to get to some lineup builds. I do want to get to a couple of live takes, do some prize picks from live as well. So just 3 more names. Let me make sure, because I'll pull it. Okay. All right. I got that there. Okay. Chad Ramey, not been good. Had a good round 1 last week and then blew it. I think this is a much better bounce back course for him. He's a winner on tour already in an event like this. I'm not going to say I'm all in on Chad Ramey, but definitely a good portion of my player pool for a guy flat 7 that I think is probably in something like this, an upper 7 golfer. And Brandon Wu has literally made all of his career based on these weaker field events. So I think I just by that have to play him at 7K. Last one, Hayden Buckley, 6,900. He's a mini Ches Reavie. He reels off 4 straight made cuts, will disappear for 3 months. I think we're in the midst of one of those made cut streaks right now, and he presents upside. So Buckley, yes. And my other two guys, Woo and Ramey, both yes as well. How about you?
Yeah. So again, this is where it really starts to drop off. You're going to be looking, you're not going to find ownership down here. So it's basically play whoever you want. And you're going to be looking for just anything. I'll throw a couple guys out there. Obviously, I don't get to say this often. I seriously think that Bill Haas is in play. Bill Haas is playing good golf. He's made 3 of 4 cuts. He's gained positive with the putter in 4 straight. This is the type of event we've seen Steve Stricker and Zach Johnson do it for decades here, that guys of his age can hang around in. So I don't mind him at 6,900. I'll throw out Chase Seifert at 6,700. I just think that Chase Seifert is mid sixes in most fields. And I think in this field, he's one of the better golfers when you really stack it up. I know his results aren't blowing anyone away in 2022, but Chase Seifert to me is just a solid golfer for the range. So those are the 2 names that stood out to me the most. I want to ask you one last guy, and then we'll get to lineup construction. Do you have any take on Lee Hodges?
Yeah, he's a name that just because he was in the top 10 last week, I'm going to play him. Like it's one of those that when you get down this low, there's so much volatility. You have to embrace it in a week like this. And the quantifications or qualifications to get into my lineups at these prices is so low this week. And one of those is if you were in the top 10 in any of the last 2 or 3 weeks at any point, I'm going to probably put you in unless you gained 1,000,000 strokes putting, which Hodges did in one of those rounds. So that's why I do like Buckley over him. Why I like the upside of Ramey over him as well. But again, he's still part of the player pool this week. Also, if you want to get how we rank all of these guys in terms of our allocations in our GPP, check out our Pro Plays tool. Typically, I make sure that I have them done before this show that I can talk about them with Ben. This week, I haven't gotten to it, but I assure you right after the show for all of those Stokastic subs, they will be uploaded in there. I know yours is in there, Ben, and Alex is in there already. Check those out. It's a great GPP allocation tool. It's one of my favorites to go see how crazy and silly I am compared to you and Alex and what I'm trying to do. Throw Brendan Wu as my top owned GPP play, and you guys are like 90 and 93, and everyone's like, Jason, are you okay?
Hey, Brandon Wu, like I said, give people a peek behind the glass. Brandon Wu's got a positive leverage score this week. So if you're looking for flyers, could be worse.
Yep, for sure. So again, just one of the many tools that we have behind the curtain as well. Great time to check it out because we got Open Championship coming up after the season. Yes, my favorite European Tour event is now a PGA Tour event, the Scottish Open next week. And of course, the Open Championship coming up in 2 weeks, 2 millionaire makers. So great time. Come over and join us and use our promo code, Ben. Just make sure, because it's the live before lock one. It's PGA LBL lock, right? That's our promo code. Tyler, help me out. Make sure I'm right. Okay. Just making sure on that. If you haven't joined us, now is the time to do so. Use that promo code and you're going to get, 50% off, I believe, your first week. Is that right?
Get some good stuff. Stokastic.
1 month.
For the platinum.
For the month. Sorry. Sure. So good time to do it. That's also going to take you up to NFL content, which we have coming out now for best ball. So much money to be won in best ball. Are you getting involved this year?
Oh, I'm going to be involved. We got some really great tools dropping in between OddsShopper for the betting and everything. And that's why people are always, we had the question today, why'd you change the name? Because we are doing all this stuff and we wanted to kind of show that we have everything going on here. So it's really, really exciting. Right on the screen there, a great deal and certainly a community that I hope you guys enjoy.
Not that we don't love our Osmo, because Alex Baker himself is maybe the most likable guy that I've ever met. So still love that and whatever going on. So, all right, let's go on to some lineup builds. We have some fun with this. I love doing it. I love tracking it. We've had some pretty good success since we've started to do it. So let's build the first one with a stud up top. So I'm going to allow you to choose the Simpson, Hadwin, or Thigala.
I think, let's just choose Webb. It's the obvious target, and we'll build from there.
I want to leave salary here on this table, on this lineup. That was kind of the goal here this week. Not that it's a way to differentiate, but because I don't think there's a huge difference between some of these guys that are 400 and 500 apart. And it does, of course, help out with being unique. So second guy in the lineup, we have 7,800 left to spend, but I'm fine. I think we got to get Patrick Rodgers in there. He would be my first click in that mid 8K range. Is that with you as well?
Yeah, great play. Fits all types of lineups. Two very high owned guys. So we're gonna have to mix it up with these other four, but we have plenty of time to do that, and we've got salary.
So you mentioned Brandon Wu being positive on our leverage tool. Is that too aggressive here?
No, I think that this is where, again, we're building for a tournament. You're going to have to find guys. You've got Sam Ryder down there. You've got the guy who's going to be my hot take down there. You've got Brandon Wu down there. You could double up. Like, what if we went Brandon Wu and Matt Wallace?
Oh, yeah, Matt Wallace is there too. All right, you know what? Because Hayden Buckley's playing better golf than Brandon Wu, and I think he's going to be close to the same one. Let's trade to Hayden Buckley. Let's get Matt Wallace in there, and that leaves us with 9,200, which gives us Christian Bezuidenhout. Both you and I are in. Do you like that line of leaving $100?
I'm fine with it. I think that's the type of lineup, again, that you're going to be looking for. And the good thing about this lineup.
Oh, that's because I insta-click Chris Gotterup in this range. That's why.
Gotterup comes preloaded at this point.
Yeah. He's preloaded in the lineup.
You got Gotterup. You got like Lebioda is right there as well. You have a million different options for that last man in. So you can definitely go there. We did get a super chat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That thoughts on Jason Day and Maverick for DK. I think that both of them are aggressive in a good way. Different types of starting points with Jason Day. He's playing the worst of the four. But I don't mind it if you want to be different in a single entry. Sabatini versus Pendrith. That's an interesting one.
I'm going to get back to the Sabatini. Is he your hot take?
No.
Okay. All right. Sabatini actually grades out really well. I forgot to add him in the make the cut because I meant to mention to you when I dug deeper, he's got some pretty good course history here, and it looks like his statistical attributes are matching up. I actually like him a lot at 6,800 versus Pendrith. I would say play them both, but if you need to differentiate in terms of ownership, definitely Sabatini.
Yeah, the other thing is like they're not exactly, as you mentioned, the same price. So
McNeely.
If I had $7,300, I wouldn't click Rory Sabatini. No, I would click probably Matt Wallace. But I get where you're going there. I don't mind that as a starting point for single entries, though.
Jason Day or McNeely was the other part of that question. And man, single and large GPP single. Oh man, Ben, this one's tough because Jason Day is not playing good golf at 10,000, which makes me go down to McNeely at 9,500. But McNeely doesn't have a top 10 in so long. If you are dead set on one of those two, I'll say McNeely. I think he is a better chance at getting through to the weekend. And we have seen him play well in these alternate field events as well. So I will say McNeely. Bernard, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate you joining here. Our second lineup, Cam Davis was just mentioned in the chat. He is going to be the first click in the lineup. I also love Nick Hardy. So those are going to be the first two clicks in this balanced one that I'd like to build. Again, this is a GPP focus, but we're building balance. So who would you like to go to as the third guy in this lineup? Is it someone like JT Poston?
Sure, we could absolutely use JT Poston. So we're going to have three guys in the 8K range in Nick Hardy, Cam Davis, and JT Poston.
Yep.
I still think that there's an opportunity, though, to click someone like Thigala. I don't think that prevents us from doing that. We would have $7,400 left for two spots, even with Thigala and those three 8K guys.
Let's somebody mentioned Sabatini, and I do like him, so let's throw him in there. That gives us 8K left. This is where I think you can use Cameron Champ if you believe in him. Totally fine with that. Or this is where you leave salary at the table and differentiate. You go down and get Shank. You go down and get Svensson. Smalley is also there. Johnny Huzz right there as well. Kevin Streelman, not so much. I'd rather play Ches over Kevin Streelman. So again, you want to go totally against the grain. Cam Champ is there. I know it uses the full salary, but he's so alone owned. Might be my first pick in this type of lineup we're building just because he's so alone. Again, we're building for the $20 GPP. We're trying to take the big one down here. We're not trying to build for cash or a single entry, just how we're building. So those are the two, Ben. I think that's probably pretty good. And we can move on to a quick live golf take and then our hot take. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect to me.
All right. As you and I kind of hypothesized, The PGA Tour likely is not going to knock on DraftKings' door for providing contests, since it is DraftKings' business to provide games and contests. And they have shareholders like probably you and I that they have to make money for. So not too terribly surprising that we see the live contest. I do really like the fact that they are showdown. They don't mess with the week long of the PGA Tour. It's another product to offer. So I like that. In terms of tomorrow, who I like, well, I always look at the birdie guys. And this is where I actually like to use Prize Picks as kind of a couple with it. They're sponsor of the show. Kevin Na is going up against Abraham Answer in a birdie or better matchup. I like both Kevin Na for DraftKings, and I like him in that matchup as well for my first pick. And I also like Matthew Wolff over 3.5 birdies. We found him find a little form last week at the Travelers. I like that to carry over and make at least 3.5 birdies tomorrow. And my third one, so that we can get a 3-to-1 payout here, is, let me just pull it up here. Sorry, I wrote it down and now I forgot about it right as I was about to tell you, Ben, of course, because that's how it works. Here we go. It is. Oh, that's why I forgot about it, because I wanted to bring it up and ask you. Most of the over-under lines tomorrow for the Live Golf Tour on Prize Picks are 70.5 or 71.5. And then there's Phil Mickelson.
Oh, God.
73.5. Ben, give me your line on 73.5 for Phil.
I probably take the over still.
74.
I'm taking the over. Tyler is saying 74. It's going to happen. So you're taking the over?
Probably. I will say I do think there is something to Prize Pick strategy with Live in particular, because part of it, and I could be wrong about this, but I would think part of the philosophy on the PGA Tour Thursday is you can't do anything too crazy, because if you screw up, you're cut. When you don't have a cut, you could be really aggressive and know that you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to make a lot of birdies. So I actually like taking the over on these birdies with guys like Bryce and guys like Wolf, because they can just let it go and know they have, guaranteed 54 holes to make it up.
And are likely not beheaded if they come in last. Likely.
That's still yet to be determined.
Yeah, because no one's heard from Andy Ogletree since London. So
tough scene for the Yellow Jackets. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Lastly, the rumor on the street is a top 10 player in the world will be announcing soon. Both you and I are hypothesizing it is going to be Patrick Cantlay. I hope we're wrong.
Smith.
But if it is anybody in the top 10, that was going to be my question to you. Who do you pick in the top 10 if it really is going to be somebody?
I think it's going to be Cantlay. I hope it's Cam Smith, just because selfishly I can't get him right. I hope he takes Scheffler with him. Just get all these guys. It's just another guy I can't get right. But no, we'll see. I hope it's not Hovland. That's what I'll say, because I think it could be, and that would be really disappointing. I hope he stays.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, Cantlay being the oldest, and in terms of his physical stature, he's had so many injury problems. He'd be one I'd be, he's one of my favorites, but I would probably pick him. I think
and
the
his
other
presser
is very cryptic. Yeah.
Super shady. I've said a lot of shady things in my life, so I can read into when someone's being very shady. That was a shady press conference.
I want to mention one more thing in the Prize Picks. I took the birdies or better with Wolf. I agree with DeChambeau. Throw him in there as well. Those three, they have something called the flex play. We haven't brought this up yet, but I think it's a really cool feature that they have over there. You can choose flex play, and what that's going to give you is if 2 of the 3 hits, you're going to get paid 1.25x your buy-in, and if all 3 hits, you're going to get paid 2.25x your buy-in. Little different than if you're just betting for all 3 to hit. Again, it just kind of hedges. It's basically a way to hedge the bet. I like that option over on Prize Picks, so check them out. Again, player props-based contest, no sharks, no optimize, anything like that. Make sure you use our promo code AWESOMO to get $100 match on your first deposit. All right, now it's time for hot takes. Last week, I tried to use Austin Smotherman. It didn't work. I'll probably play him again this week because of that. But Gotterup gets his second PGA Tour top 10, his first as a pro, gets himself into the Corn Ferry Tour finals, and actually gets pretty close to special temporary membership with it this week. A top 5 may actually get him really on the cusp. So take a look. I got to back Gotterup this week. I like the talent, and I like what I've been seeing.
No problem with that. I think he's just a very solid play. My guy, not nearly as solid, but there is a man at flat 7 who has been playing like absolute garbage all year, but he doesn't have status, or not a good status. He's been playing a lot of Corn Ferry events. Last week in Maine, he came in 10th. He made 16 birdies, and now he comes to a course that historically he loves. And the man I'm talking about is Scott Brown.
Oh,
who we've not heard from, but Scott Brown at the John Deere. Here we go. Since 2012, 7th, 22nd, 5th, miscut, 16th, 15th, 12th, miscut, and 4th last year. He loves this course. It's by far his best course on tour. He had a top 10 last week on the Corn Ferry Tour. This is the type of guy, when you get him right, he scores like a banshee. You're getting plus money even on top 40s for this guy. Nice plus money. So if you put him in the betting market from the top 40 or top 20 to a top 10, big time ticket potential. Obviously, there's risk. Scott Brown as a sleeper pick this week is something I think you should at least check out.
I love it. That is a great hot take, a name we haven't used, a name that hasn't even brought up. Again, just want to make a couple of things clear. Check out OddsShopper, not just the YouTube channel, but also our tool there. It is a fantastic tool to get the best lines on the player. It has helped me in my betting get the best lines. Like last week, Thigala, you had to shop around for the best top 5 line, but I ended up getting 3-1 better than what just going to DraftKings would have gotten me. I got 18-1 instead of 15. So check that out. I think it's a fantastic tool that everybody should be using. So again, we got Open Championships starting next week. Also starting weird times next week. We'll be teeing off, I think, at 2 a.m. on Thursday, 2 a.m. on Friday, 2 a.m. Saturday. But when you wake up on Sunday morning, you get to watch the final golf, and it's over, and you have the entire day to do whatever you want instead of sitting in front of a TV like I do on most Sundays. So I'll enjoy that. Ben, last word of advice for people at the John Deere Classic this week.
Just don't be afraid to play some guys that aren't playing well, because they come to events like this and you wonder how they stay on tour. It's because they show up in events like this, events like Puerto Rico, all field events. So I'm okay with some, don't go crazy, but don't be deterred by some guys that have sketchy form when they play in the biggest events, majors and the Memorial and things like that. I'm going to embrace that challenge this week and see what we do. It's not the best week ever, but you know what? Someone's going to win a lot of money, and we hope it's someone in this community.
Certainly do. And it sounds like possibly if Maverick McNeely gets it done, based on our chat, it seems like our chat might be doing pretty good. Yeah. There. Do we miss anybody before we get on out of there?
I don't think so, but if we did, at DFS Golfer 23, at JazzRaz DFS, certainly always around. And again, if you get into our Discord where we got the premium betting picks and everything else, happy to take care of you guys in there. So it's going to be a fun week, and so just a really good time in the golf world.
Embrace the volatility this week. That's the message I give. Good luck, everybody. Take down that big prize at the John Deere Classic. Gear up for the Millionaire Maker in a couple of weeks, and we will see you across the pond. Cheers, everybody.